everyone, it's Tommy from the Goalie Crease Network, and today I'm extremely excited to show you guys the Maltese Sports GPS Mask Padding Kit. So, let's get started. Now, if you haven't heard of Maltese before, I'd be extremely surprised because they make a number of products that are very well received and are very well known in the goalie community. So, for example, they make a combo neck protector and they also make a neck collar, both of which I believe have been used in the NHL, and I believe somebody is also using that combo in the NHL right now, which is pretty cool. But for those goalies who like a very tight protection on the neck, you can't go wrong. Really, that's one of the best known products that they have, and it's sort of a gel-like material. It acts much like a foam, but really it's a gel, and it's very interesting. And it is also very cold to the touch, so it's very nice to wear during games. Now, that said, I don't like a lot of things on my neck, so I tend to not wear that type of neck protection, but nonetheless, maybe in the future I'll give it a whirl and then show you guys a review on that as well. Now, they do also make a number of other products, for example, a knee guard, which I also haven't used, but I've heard very good things about. And then, of course, mask padding kits, and this is the GPS mask padding kit. And this one came out in November of 2015, so it hasn't been out that long, and I've been using it for a number of months now on this mask right here. This is one of my older masks, so I wanted to try it on this. And this has worked so well, I'm probably going to end up replacing the mask padding on all of my masks with this padding because it is so awesome. So what I want to do is show you guys the kit, and I'll give you a couple tips on the installation. I'm not going to show you the entire installation like I had planned, but actually Maltese Sports puts together a couple directional videos on how to install it, and it works out really well. So I just followed their video and followed their online instructions, so I don't think it's necessary for me to show you guys all of the installation, but nonetheless, I want to give you a couple tips here and there that I did learn during the process. So first, we'll go over the actual padding and the benefits, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so let's take a look at that padding. Now, if I turn it over like this, you can see the different strips of padding that are in the mask. And I'm going to unclip each side of my mask here so you guys can get a much better view of what that looks like. Now, you guys can also see I have in here a Monster Cool sweatband, which also works really well, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But what I wanted to show you first is just how well all of that padding fits in there. So, what I want to do is show you how it comes. And you can see here I have a couple leftover pieces because I didn't end up using this on the back plate, but it comes kind of like this, and this entire strip is full of padding. Now, there's no numbers, so you have to pay attention while you're going through the installation process, you know exactly which padding you're putting where. And then some of the measurements don't exactly line up. So for example, they're talking about 3-inch padding, it might actually be like 2 3/4. Something like that. So you just have to be a little careful with the padding that you're putting in there, and making sure that you're putting it in all of the right places. But nonetheless, it comes on a strip like this. Now, another thing it comes with is another one. So you can kind of see here, you might be able to see the cracks in the padding here. This is for fitting. So I actually didn't end up using any of these. I may end up seeing if I can replace the padding on the back plate with this type of padding instead, because this padding is also very soft and it's very thin. And I felt like the other padding, which you see here, was a little too thick for the back plate, even though that's probably what most people use. It just kind of dug into my head a little bit. So I put the old padding on just for my use, and then, you know, I may end up replacing it in the future. Now, one other cool thing that I wanted to show you guys about this padding really quick, and you can see it kind of stays on here, is you can see there's a break in some of the padding. So what that does is, during the installation process, because of course your head is round, and the mold is round, so it needs to have a little break in it so that it's able to really conform to your head mold and the mold of the mask. So that works out really well. So what I'm going to do here is first I'm going to show you exactly how it fits. Now, you can see here I have the chin sling installed, and I also didn't actually install it the way that they had recommended. They recommend you do it with the existing hardware. So for example, this clip right here, you would put it actually through the gel. And so I didn't end up doing that. What I did was I actually glued it in, and I'll give you a couple tips about that glue in a few seconds. So So first, this is what it looks like. You can kind of see some green around the edges. So anytime you see that green edge, you know exactly what that goalie has installed. And you can see it on a couple NHLers that I've noticed in the past. But I'll kind of show you here. Has an extremely comfortable fit, and I'll back up so you guys can see. You know, I can even keep it on my head like this for a very long time, and it doesn't dig into my head at all. And I've actually noticed in a lot of chin slings and masks where the foam kind of comes down a little bit, usually it doesn't extend all the way down. And yet, because this one you can actually cut to fit, I could put that I could put the cuts as close to the edge as possible. Now you can see I got a little sloppy in the chin area. I'm not exactly the, you know, despite my how to tape a goalie stick video, I'm not the most precise person in the world. So got a little sloppy at the end, but the mask still works perfectly, so I really don't care. Now, when I bring it down, you can see it fits extremely well. So it fits very close on my cheeks, and of course they do have the other padding that will allow you a little looser fit if you prefer, or even a tighter fit if you want to combine both of the gels or both of the foams together. So it works out extremely well. Now, another thing too is I do prefer my nose to be pretty close to the cage, and I'll kind of show you that here. And fortunately, with this type of gel and this installation, you can install it any way you want. So you can cut down the gel if you want, which is awesome. That's exactly what I did down here, because originally it extended down pretty far, so I could cut it very well, and that ended up working out. Now, the other thing too that you may have noticed is I didn't cut out the holes. So the reason I didn't do that is because I'm just not that precise, so I didn't really feel it was necessary. But nonetheless, I could do that as well. Now, I'll put this back on just to show you guys that even with the Monster Goalie Band, which is much thicker than a regular sweatband, you can see that because of that really precise installation and because you can cut it down for a personalized fit, it still works out really well. So this mask, I feel like it didn't really fit me that well before, and that's why I had stopped using it. And you know, you didn't see it in that many videos, even when I was wearing my red set. But now that I have this new padding and this new installation in the foams, it is absolutely awesome. Now I do also want to talk about the performance of the padding itself, because I did take several dings up here, and you can kind of see one of them right here that it's next to the big one, but it's a little one that ended up dinging me off the forehead. And one of them hit my old cage, so I replaced this cage, and then I had one hit over here. And each time, I had no ringing whatsoever. And I really feel like that's due in part because of this new gel kit. This is a very thick gel, and it tended to transfer all of that force really well, so that it didn't, you know, make my head ring. It didn't feel like I had, you know, any undue pressure on my head, so it worked out really well. Now, the other really cool thing about this GPS gel is that it is extremely cold to the touch. So even when you're touching it right here, it is much colder than even the surrounding mask or any of the other gear that I have back there. So it doesn't tend to keep heat very well, which is what you want for your mask. So especially in those games where it's really tight, it's coming down to the last couple minutes, and you know, maybe it's you're up by one, you're going to want to make sure that all that sweat and all that heat is transferring out of your mask. And so one other thing that I wanted to show you guys was that Monster Cool sweatband. And you can see here, it is a little thicker than your normal sweatband. And I really like the sweatband. Now, at the same time, putting that down, I want to show you guys what this looks like. You can see this is a little rigid because I didn't follow the directions on this one. And this one basically it's kind of crunchy at this point. It's a little more solid than normal. Now, I do also have a backup, and this one I have followed the directions on. So if you actually look on the bag right there, you can see there's a little bit of moisture. So if I take this one out of the bag, you'll see it has a lot more flexibility to it still. So you can see that. And when you touch it, it's actually moist to the touch. And it is very cold. So you're supposed to replace these mid-game, and I have tried that. It's very easy since it comes in and out with the Velcro backing. So that's not really a concern. The only thing is you have to remember to bring your other sweatband to your game. And that one I probably have a little more problem with because I'm trying to, you know, put a GoPro and whatnot in, and I don't always remember to replace the sweatband. But nonetheless, if you do it, it actually works really well. It does soak up a lot of moisture. I don't tend to be a goalie that sweats a ton, so I'm not one of those dripping goalies. I do know some of them who are, and first of all, it's kind of gross. But second of all, this will really help out those goalies. So if you are one of those goalies that has just sweat all over the place, this is definitely the sweatband for you because it's going to soak up all that moisture. And then you just replace it mid-game, or you can wring it out mid-game if you want to. And as long as you store it appropriately, unlike I have with the other one, it'll keep a lot of that moisture inside of it, and it'll also keep it very flexible for you. So last but not least, I wanted to give you guys a couple tips about the installation. Now, the installation was extremely easy, and it didn't take me much time at all, especially because all of that gel is pre-cut, so it just goes in there, and then if you do end up wanting to cut down any, just like I did with the actual chin sling, you can certainly do that. Didn't take me any time either, just use an X-Acto knife and it worked out perfectly. However, a couple tips. It does come with super glue, and when I say super glue, it comes in a little bottle like this, and this is the most super glue I have ever used in my life. So I can't remember if exactly the directions say basically don't get it on your skin, but do not get it on your skin because it will not come off for hours. In fact, it took me probably a full day before it all came off. Now, at the same time, as you can see here, I've been using this mask for a while now, and I didn't follow their installation instructions with the chin sling by not using my existing hardware to go through the back. Instead, what I did was I just glued it in to see if it would work. And you can see, it really worked. So you can see here, I actually just glued it straight to the outside of the mask mold, and it hasn't moved whatsoever. There's no part of this that's coming out. I would assume maybe after some amount of time, maybe I'll have some slippage, but nonetheless, I could probably just glue it back in, or I can always, use their directions. But nonetheless, this glue is so strong, it worked out perfectly. Now, like I said, don't get it on your skin because you're not going to get it off. Don't get it on clothes because it may ruin your clothes. And make sure you're doing it in a well-ventilated area because even though the glue itself doesn't smell, I could feel it irritating my eyes. So just be very careful with that glue because I ended up ruining a very nice pair of shorts doing it because I'm not that precise. But nonetheless, it worked out really well, and that's the exact kind of glue you need in order to glue this into the mask. Now, the only other thing that I wanted to point out is that because you can cut down the gel, you can really go for that personalized fit. So I actually followed their directions to a T up there in the top, and if you compare it to the directions that they have online, you'll see that it follows pretty well. But at the same time, you can cut it down, you can use smaller segments, you can cut these in half if you'd like and put, 2 blocks up there. It's really up to your personalized fit. So I think that's really cool and it works out really well. So I definitely recommend trying out the Maltese GPS gel padding. This padding is just incredible. It keeps you extremely cold during games, which is exactly what you want, transferring that heat out. And also, I haven't gotten any dings whatsoever that have affected me, in the head. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe. And if you've used the installation kit, or if you're interested in learning more about it, just post up some questions and I'll be more than happy to respond. So, good luck, and I'll see you out on the ice.